22-year-old Lauren Cunningham is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 22-year-old Craig Rice, for his share of rent and utilities after he broke their lease.
Miss Cunningham, Mr. Rice was your boyfriend. You fell in like, you signed a lease together, you moved into an apartment together, you had a fight, he moved out of the apartment. You want him to pay half of the rent and utilities for the remainder of the lease.
Yes.
When did you move into the apartment?
December 15th.
Of 2009?
Yes.
And when did you move out, Mr. Rice?
I moved out in May, just about probably May 16th, I believe.
Did you pay May's rent?
Yes.
So it's June, July, August, September, October, and November. 6 months rent that you want.
Till the end of the lease on December.
Now, did you have a fight with him?
Yes.
Was it the first fight that you had with him?
No.
So it was a good idea that you separated?
Yes.
Now, when Mr. Rice moved out, Miss Cunningham, if you broke your lease, how much would it have cost each of you to break your lease and go back to where you had been previously living?
I would have to pay until the end of my lease the amount that was due.
No, that's not true.
It would have been till the end of the lease, so it would have been about $35.80.
No, Miss Cunningham, you're not following me, madam.
I know how much it is, by the way. It would have been $17.90 for each of us, just about.
$17.90 for each of you?
Yes.
Did you discuss, because I'm not going to get it from Miss Cunningham, I can see she's resistant to this line of questioning. How did you come up with that figure of $17.90, Mr. Rice, from each of you?
I talked to the leasing office because I tried to
I
make a
can
lease.
talk to the leasing office, too.
Yeah.
Did you tell that to Miss Cunningham?
Yes. And I told her on multiple occasions there.
Did you tell her that it would cost $1,800 for each of you to break the lease?
Yes.
No, he never said that. He just told me to break the lease.
He told you to break the lease?
On multiple occasions.
Did you? Just a second. Did you go to the leasing office?
Yes.
Did you discuss with them breaking the lease?
I discussed with them breaking the lease, but they never told me how much it would be.
Well, when you discussed with them breaking, hey, Miss Cunningham, let's not play with each other. When you discussed with them breaking the lease, they must have given you a figure of how much it would cost you to break the lease. I'm not talking about if you continue to live there and pay the rent. They must have told you, because you don't look like a stupid girl, when you said, I want to break the lease, they say, well, you can break the lease, but this is what it's going to cost you. That's what they would say, because that makes sense. And how much would it have cost you at the time Mr. Rice moved out to break the lease?
I'm assuming the $3,600.
So why didn't you do that?
We signed a year lease. There's actually a clause in my lease saying that the amount of unpaid rent for the balance would be what would need to be paid till the end of the lease.
Ms. Rice, are you not following me? You say he moved out in April and didn't pay May's rent.
Yes.
Let us assume I believe you. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 7 months. 9 times 7, because your rent is $900 a month, is $6,300. You want half of that.
Yes.
So you want about $3,100.
Yes.
Plus utilities.
Yes.
When you could have bought out for $1,800, that's what he's saying. He's saying that the landlord was willing to accept $3,600 to buy out of the lease. That's what it would cost you. You wouldn't have any utilities. Who was this?
My mother.
You could have moved in with your mother. Could have moved, I don't care where you moved, but it certainly was not a good idea that the two of you lived together. I know you could have bought out then for $1,800 for you and $1,800 for him. Now you want him to pay $3,100 plus the utilities because you decided to stay in the apartment.
Yes.
That's not happening. Would have been a dangerous situation for you to stay there. Would have been a dangerous situation for him to stay there. The right thing to do is for each of you to separate, and if you made a mistake, cut your losses. And in this case, cutting your losses would be for you to break your lease, give the landlord his money right up front, $1,800 a piece, $3,600. The landlord pockets $3,600. He turns around, he rents your apartment a month later, so he's got an extra $3,600, but you walk away and your hands are clean. Instead, you decide to stay in the apartment by yourself, I assume, by yourself, and want him to pay for it, plus the utilities when he wasn't there, none of which you would have had if you moved out when he moved out. He's not going to do that. He's going to pay you what it would have cost him to break the lease, which was $1,790. That's what he's responsible for. Got it? Perfect. Anybody else want to say anything? No. Good. $1,790, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge